Hello, everyone, and welcome to the final day of the Q4 Amazon Virtual Summit, co-hosted with CPC Strategy, Stellar Labs, and Feedvisor. We're going to get started here in about 3 minutes or so. I'm going to start going through all the introduction slides, the logistics, all the good stuff. But before we do, again, if you've been to one of our webinars before, if you haven't, always love doing this at the beginning. Love to engage with you guys that have been attending. I know there's a lot of people that are repeat attendees too. So let's see if we can kind of shoot over the chat box over here. Should be over to the right side of the control panel. We'll be using this. Izzy already jumping in. Nice. So just shooting over where you guys are airing from. Really interesting. I am airing from the greater Boston area. If you don't already know that, if you haven't been to one of our sessions before, our headquarters, CPC Strategy, is located in the San Diego area. So kind of just across the U.S. right here. But always really cool to see essentially where the entire audience is airing from. So let's take a look here. We have Sawyer from Amsterdam. Welcome, Sawyer. Hannah from Metro Detroit. Welcome, Hannah. Let's see who else we have here. We have James and Mary from OKC. Welcome, James and Mary. Rick, are all the sessions available on video? Yes, they are going to be all available on video. I'll be sending that out to you guys tomorrow morning. Have all 3 days and the slides, everything you guys need. They'll be sent in a nice email, nice page we're putting together that will contain everything. So that will kind of confirm your question there. But let's take a look. Who else we have? We have JJ from New York City. Welcome, JJ. Are any more goodies from those who were here all 3 days? We might be able to throw in some handouts as well. I believe there's 5 handouts still that you can download as well. You could take with you guys. Those are kind of put together by CPC Strategy. I believe there's one in there too by Feedvisor too, and also Stellar Labs. So take a look. Those are for you guys. They are the same ones that have been in there all throughout the entire summit. So what do we got here? What else we have? Taylor, bedding manufacturer in the house. Welcome, Taylor. Nice. All right, good to have you. Who else do we have here? Violetta, Swampscott, Mass. Nice. Massachusetts native. Welcome. Good to have you. Kyle from New York City. Still here from Montreal. Good to have you back there again. Paul from Chile. Nice. Welcome, Paul. Good to have you. Where is the link saved recording for day one? Again, everything's going to be sent out to you guys tomorrow. We just need to get through the entire summit first in order to kind of put that all into one nice, page for you guys to, go back and look at all the recordings, all the slides, everything like that. So tomorrow morning, I will get that out to you guys, I promise. I know a lot of you guys might want to review it over the weekend or next week when you're not actually, working, as it is, 2 p.m. here, East Coast time. So do appreciate that. So top of the hour here, we've got about 300 attendees. Pretty good turnout. We had about 900 on the first day, about 700 on the second day, and 300 and probably still climbing here as well. So let's kind of get things started here for today. So if you're just joining us out of the new 200 people that just joined us in the past 5 minutes, welcome to the final day of the Q4 Amazon Virtual Summit. Again, it's co-hosted by CPC Strategy, Stellar Labs, and Feedvisor. We've done about 7 to 10 of these, so far in the past 3 years together. Very successful events, very good presentations all around, and a lot of positive feedback from the audience too. So we do appreciate that. So for today's presentation, we had Feedvisor, finishing things off here for the actual presentation. And then Aaron and Michael, if you guys want to kind of just move to the next slide here as well. I'm going to go over kind of the actual event, logistics here, the summit details. So day one, if you missed out, what Pat Petrell, our head of marketplace strategy, talked about was kind of the true philosophy of attractive listing optimization. So what does that mean? Essentially, all the ins and outs of optimizing your listing as you head into Q4. So everything from the bullet points, the titles, the descriptions, and then going into obviously everything, the new improvements from EPC to A+ content. And also the brand new storefronts as well. Something to really pay attention to moving forward, especially where you can drive, your headline search ad traffic over to those, nice new branded kind of storefronts that are kind of Amazon's, rolling out here. And he also kind of touched on mobile slightly a little bit too. So pretty much his, synopsis there was just don't sleep on mobile. You want to pay attention to your listing. From all across different devices, from desktop to mobile to tablet to essentially just like all the devices from the app to on store online. So that's day one. Day two, Jeff Cohen of Seller Labs, he discussed everything, has to do with Amazon advertising. So he talked about, sponsored product optimizations, top mistakes that sellers make there. He also talked about Amazon Media Group as well, part of the another advertising arsenal at Amazon as well, excuse me. He also talked about AMS, so like the headline search ads too, which are also now available to sellers. And within AMS is obviously the product display ads, and also pardon me, the sponsored products, headline search ads, and product display ads. So a lot of good details there. And so finally, finishing things off here, we have Michael and Aaron at Feedvisor going to be talking about winning Q4 with data-driven business decisions, going to particularly be talking about, pricing strategies, as well as kind of how to kind of mitigate the risk of understanding where your inventory flows are at too for Q4, ensuring that you are not understocked or overstocked essentially as you head into Q4, along with a lot of other, nice, good takeaways too for the session. So that being said, let's jump into kind of the last logistics slide here too. As I mentioned earlier, the session and recording and all the slides, everything like that will be sent out. So definitely be on the lookout for that from email from CPC Strategy tomorrow morning early. Check that. Might be in your spam too, so definitely check out the spam. If it is in your spam, mark it as not spam because we provide valuable content. So let's make sure we do that as well. Again, join the poll questions, and nice segue into the poll question here. Let's actually pop into the poll question. So want to know, out of just my own kind of curiosity, how many Amazon Summit sessions have you actually attended so far? 1, meaning today this is your first session, you attended 2, or for all you winners out there, all 3. Heather, I see you came through, all 3. Welcome, nice. It's good to have you back for the 3rd session. That definitely means that we're providing a lot of value than in the prior 2, so we definitely do appreciate the feedback here. So interesting to see kind of how many people are actually attending, repeat attendees. So let's close that out. Looks like we actually hit 70% here, so let's share with the audience. So Aaron and Michael, I'm not sure if you guys can see this here too, but looks like this is 62% all 3 days. So good to have everyone back. We really do appreciate you guys and the time you guys are spending with us too. So with that being said, like I mentioned before, all the resources are available to you guys from prior days. You can take those, download those, take them with you. Those are for you to keep. And without further ado, let's kind of kick things off for today. About 5 minutes here, top of the hour. So let's kick things over to Feedvisor for their presentation for today. Aaron, Michael, you guys all set for today?
All set. Thank you very much, Nick. And thank you all for joining us for our session today about data-driven business decisions. I'm Aaron Ellis. I'm a technical account manager here at Feedvisor. I focus on the onboarding of our premium and enterprise clients. I have a lot of experience with working with several of our multi-million-dollar accounts, and hope to share a lot of the insights and knowledge I've gathered with my time here with Feedvisor. I'm also sitting along here with Michael.
Hey everyone. So yeah, my name is Michael Gabay. I'm a strategic account manager. Kind of take the reins over from Aaron, and I work more with the customers on the product adoption, obviously, and their strategies moving forward through the rest of the year. So yeah, we work with tons of Amazon sellers. We have experience working with them. Just a bit about Feedvisor for those of you who don't know. Feedvisor is the leading algorithmic repricing and revenue intelligence solution for high-volume Amazon sellers. We power millions of pricing decisions daily, providing our retailers, our customers, with actionable insights to obviously maximize profitability and drive business growth. Okay, so if you'd like to find out how Feedvisor can help maximize your Q4 sales and profits, you can always email us at info@feedvisor.com and let us know the questions in the box in your webinar player.
Okay, great. So let's dive in. Just a little breakdown of what we'll be discussing in this webinar. I'll be covering the first part, and we'll be trying to understand, identify, strategize, and prepare our inventory for the fourth quarter. And once we get through that, Michael will join in and focus on some strategic seller tips that will help you get an edge coming into this fourth quarter. So moving forward, just a little bit of insight of what we've seen from our clients here at Feedvisor is that moving into the third quarter into the fourth, we will see obviously a major increase in our orders. Specifically what we've seen, or our clients at Feedvisor have seen, is a 45% increase based on last year's numbers.
Right, and when we say we'll preface that by saying when we say we, it's our Feedvisor customers.
Absolutely. So obviously with the expanding growth, a lot of business, we're going to be a little bit busy in this time of year. So we want to strategize now while we have the time, the little time that we do have. We want to focus on preparing ourselves for this upcoming whirlwind. What I want to start off is showing a little bit insight into our average storefront based on the data that we've gathered from our clients. Basically what we see is we have an 80-20 rule on average with many storefronts on Amazon. And what does that really mean? Well, let's look at an example here. If we take an example storefront that has 5,000 items, 80% of these items do not generate any sales during the month. Some of those, most of those do have inventory. Some of them don't, and they're just listings taking up space in our Seller Central account. What that ultimately means is that 20% of our inventory is driving 100% of our sales. That's a quite eye-opening insight, seeing that all this space is just stagnant money. Now, if we dive in a little bit deeper, we could see that 80% of our sales are generating 100% of that profit of the account. So 20% of our sales are actually incurring some sort of loss. Now, what I really want to do is dive into this 20%, the items that we're actually selling, and see what's going on in this area. Now, when we dive into the 20% bubble, we see that even within this 20%, it's broken down into a smaller group. So again, as we said before, in this example account, 1,000 of our items are generating 100% of our sales. 200 of those 1,000 items, only 200 are responsible for 80% of these sales. Now that's eye-opening. That means really we're talking about around 5% of our product is driving all our business. And what we really want to do is really expand this bubble. And the focus of this webinar is to understand what state our products are sitting in and expanding that 20% bubble all the way across the board so every single product is moving, and not only moving, but moving with a purpose. Now, you can see that our top sales here, again, are generating a huge chunk of our profits. Now, when we dive in here, in order to identify products and understand what strategy we're going to apply, we have to understand what state this SKU is in its life cycle. Now, we have 4 different stages in the growth of an item's life cycle. Now, obviously, when you're introducing an item, usually private label items, you may be starting off with a negative profit, and the sales, the revenue of that product will be slow, as will the profit margins. But as we begin to gain momentum, we'll move into a growth and maturity stage where we see the maximum amount of our profits. Now, for the competitive sellers, a lot of our inventory, the ones that are driving the money, we're jumping in between that growth and mature state. So we have to identify when we don't have products that are actually moving or earning the profit levels we're at. Are they on the introduction side? Is this a new product that's going to be moving? Or is it on the decline? Is this product on the way out? And once we identify what state that SKU is sitting in, then we can begin to apply the strategy, or at least choose the strategy we want to apply in the fourth quarter. Now, we break up it into 3 different groupings. We have products that are seasonal. So these are products that are, obviously have much traction currently, but we know come Halloween, come Christmas time, we're going to see a big boom. Then we have our yearly ongoing products. This is really the 20% that I addressed in that example of the 80-20 rule. These are products that are moving constantly. Whether they're earning high profit margins or earning low profit margins, they're moving. And the other item grouping that we want to decide to put products in is liquidation. So if we've identified an item is on the decline, it's on the way out, or we're trying to initiate response, we may want to move this product into a liquidation state. So now we understand the 3 states we want to classify our items up in. How do we identify them? So first, we have non-selling items. These are split up into 2 groups within this one main group. One is no sales, no inventory. Obviously, these are probably items that run out of stock, not replenished, but they're still sitting in our Seller Central account. They're still taking up space, and believe it or not, that could begin to add up, and scrolling through all these items, trying to isolate them when we do our data dives, could be really time consuming. So while you have a chance now, take the opportunity to clear up your Seller Central account, remove those dead listings that you do not plan to replenish, just so we could get a little bit of a cleaner space in the fourth quarter to work in. Now, the items with no sales and inventory, very clearly we need to address this now. So in the fourth quarter, we already have a plan in action that will take place. So what we ask in this no sales zone, we ask, okay, is this in the early stages? Is this in the beginning stages of this product life cycle, or is this already off on the decline? Now, if we think that this product is in the early stages, we will want to maybe move it to our yearly ongoing and try to gain some traction by lowering prices a little bit in the fourth quarter just to gain that traction early on. Starting now will give you a head start in that game, so hopefully as the fourth quarter rolls around and demand picks up and the margins on moving products will pick up, we'll be in that maturing process. But if we've identified that this is, in fact, a dead product, now's the time to get rid of it. The fourth quarter is when we get the eyes. We need to accept that this is either stagnant money or product that's just not interesting, and we need to get them moving. So obviously, reassessing your prices and you know, changing strategy up until now of what you've been applying to those items. Now, we have items with low sales. These are also split up into two separate factors. We have the items with low sales and high margins, and items with low sales and low margins. So these items with low sales and high margins, a lot of them may fall into that early growth stage. We invested in this product because of the high margins. It seems very interesting, but the ASIN or you know, the product line haven't gained as much traction as we were planning to be. Now, moving into the fourth quarter, we may see that traction begin. So what we need to focus on is low sales. Is it an early, are we before the jump, or is this product on the way out the door? If it's in the early stages, we're going to move it into our ongoing grouping and prepare for an increase in margins and sessions. But if we see that it's a dying product, we'll reassess our floors and try to get that product moving while we can. Now, the items with low sales and low profit margin, these items, again, once we understand the state, there may be a reason we have items sitting there, but in the end of the day, we need to gain traction here. So again, most of these items will either fall under the seasonal. A lot of these items may fall under seasonal, but also can fall under yearly ongoing. They just haven't picked up steam yet. But you need to ask yourself these questions in this grouping. Now, then we go to the items, essentially the bread and butter of our business. So items with high sales, high margins, items with high sales and low margins. Items with high sales and high margins, these are our breadwinners. Obviously, we need to make sure we're monitoring. We need to make sure our ceilings are high enough during this fourth quarter to take advantage of it, and just obviously that you're on top of replenishment. But items with high sales and low margins, we need to ask ourselves, why do these have low margins? Why am I pushing these out? Now, I could be pushing out because I'm making my bottom line on the volume, which is a great thing. I could be pulling in low margins because it builds a relationship with my supplier. There's several factors why we are sitting in this state. Again, ask yourself, why are we here? And once you understand why you're there, then we'll be able to group it and say, okay, this is now either seasonal, yearly ongoing strategy, or a liquidation strategy. Now that we understand how we can group different products in order to ask the questions we need to ask, okay, we've understood it, we've divided the items, we've decided what state they're currently sitting in. Now what do we do coming into the fourth quarter? So what we want to do here is use notes. Whether you work with like our tool on Feedvisor where we have commenting sections, or whether you work on Excel sheets, it's always good to take notes and use a comment section to enter what strategy you've determined this should be applied for. Because when we come into the fourth quarter, what you could do is easily group those items that fall under all the same strategies and do scalable action. You don't have time to dive in, so you can say, okay, here's all my liquidation items. I know that if I haven't achieved X amount of orders per day, I want to lower these items, and you could do a scalable one action as long as you've taken good comments or note-taking on the decisions that you've been making. Now, with yearly ongoing items, what are we going to expect in the fourth quarter? Again, we see a huge increase in orders. We also do see increases in profit margins during this time of year. So obviously, you're going to expect an increase in volume, expect an increase in price, and what you need to do to prepare for that is slightly widen your price range. So if you're working with a repricer like us, you would like to raise your ceiling price a little bit, making room for that growth when it has arrived, so you're not scrambling in the last second or leaving any money on the table where you could be making more. And something that's really crucial on these ongoing items, because don't forget that your breadwinners are falling under this category, is replenishment. We need to plan a very good replenishment while we're going into the fourth quarter. And what we'll do with that, I'll give you a little equation that we use here at Feedvisor to make sure that we're tracking and on top of our replenishment week over week. Now, of course, with your yearly ongoing items, you want to go through your ongoing practices during the fourth quarter, making sure your reviews are taken care of, the orders are fulfilled correctly. But beyond that, replenishment is going to be vital this time of year. So what do we do to look at replenishment? What we could do is create a very small template, a little equation, where we take your current quantity in stock, you take the last 7-day velocity. So the last 7 days, on average, what has been your daily orders? And that will give you an estimated days of coverage. So you could be ending up that you, based on this item, you're expecting to sell out at this rate in 30 days. And you can manipulate the price points in order to achieve or slow down that rate accordingly. At the end of the day, we just want to make sure that we're always in stock all the way up to the Christmas break, because this is when the orders are going to come in. It's going to help your metrics. It's going to help your sales. So you need to keep a tight ship in these products. Now, with the seasonal items, it's the very same thing. Again, very obviously, increase in prices, increase in volume, because it's in season. So we need to be ready for that. But I think one of the difficulties we have with seasonal items is, how do we start that initial replenishment? How do we know what demand will be? Well, it's hard to predict demand, but we do and we can rely on last year's numbers. So what I would definitely recommend on these seasonal items is go look at your last year's velocities, look at your 30-day velocities, meaning how many orders you were getting on average for that SKU in the last 30 days, and use that as a good guiding point. Now, once you use that equation that we mentioned before, you can check on a weekly basis to see, are you overachieving it, or do you need to add more items in to hit that date? So it's constantly putting in the original order based on historical data or your last year's numbers, but then after that first week, because it's such a busy, hectic time, once a week, dive in, make sure you're on target with your replenishment. If you're not, make sure you're getting orders coming right away. And if you are, or if it's not moving as quickly as you hope, maybe you could lower the prices to try and encourage it. But if we monitor the estimated days of coverage on our product, we'll know the action we need to take in order to achieve those goals. Now, again, we can maintain bi-weekly checks on these items, but because it's seasonal, I might want to, around the fourth quarter time, as we roll into the November, December period, we'll want to step it up to a weekly check, because demand can shift on a dime. We can sell out a product on a whim. We all know how Christmas can be, so it's a very good idea to check this on minimal once a week, use that estimated days of stock, and that will keep you on top of your replenishment for any pivots or changes of the normal flow of these products. Now, the final product, well, here's another snapshot of the equation, just in case you guys forgot, jot it down again. The other grouping that we're working in are the liquidation items. Again, any items that are not selling right now, let's get them moving. Sitting product is dead money. If you're not earning money with these products, you're losing money. So we need to kind of bite the bullet here and understand that we need to get rid of this in order to reinvest in products that bring us those higher margins that are hitting that maturing period, so we could really, be efficient with the money that we're investing in. So what we are going to see with our liquidation items is we'll see a decrease in prices, because that's going to be our strategy. We're going to be lowering our prices in order to increase the volume of these products. Now, what we need to do is we need to prepare our floor prices before the fourth quarter. You don't want to have to deal with the calculations in the fourth quarter. You most likely will not have time to spend on this. So now's the time to address this. And some things to keep in mind when you're assessing liquidated floors. You need to ask yourself, now's the time, before we head into the fourth quarter, is there another channel? Amazon is the best channel. We get the most buys, the most traction, but it's not the end-all and be-all for selling products. So perhaps there are other channels we can move these products where we're not competitive on Amazon for profit, maybe for a break-even price. That'll do. Let's look for other potential avenues while we have time. Now, if we see that, okay, this is really the only avenue we can and will work on, then we need to understand what is a level that we're willing to bite the bullet, so to speak. And one way to get a good gauge of that is to look at your long-term storage fees report through Seller Central. This report will guide you on the upcoming fees, your 6-month and 1-year charges. And you can use this to guide you on what needs to be moved out. And on top of that, we need to consider, if I dispose these items, what is the cost of disposal plus the cost of the inventory itself? If I recall these items, is that cheaper than liquidating these items? If you go through the nuance of saying, okay, I will sell it at 15% profit margin loss, I will make X amount, I can recall it and I will lose X amount, or I could dispose these, I will lose X amount. Once you sit down and break those numbers in front of you, the decision will be glaringly obvious. And now's the time to do that. You won't have time to do this in a few weeks from now. Now, again, once we have made that decision of the level or how we're planning to liquidate this product on Amazon, we want to maintain our estimated out-of-stock date, because, we may lower a price that may work for 2 days, but the market can react. We could get pushed out of the price very easily. We're obviously, when we're liquidating, in a very uncomfortable spot as it is, so it'll be very hard to keep competitive. So we need to monitor that we are achieving the goals we have set for ourselves on these liquidating products. And again, using this equation of estimated days of coverage will help you stay on top of that. Now, because this is the big season, you want to spend most of your time investigating the yearly ongoing and your seasonal regarding your goals and replenishment. So when you're doing your liquidation checks, do this more on a bi-weekly, maybe once every 3 weeks nuance, because if you have limited time, it needs to be focused where the money is, and it needs to be focused on replenishing those good items. So the preparation comes today. You prepare yourself for the fourth quarter on these liquidated items, and then you will set it, let it take its course, step back, analyze the situation, and reassess. So now I'm going to pass it along to Michael and let him give you some amazing strategic tips for this fourth quarter.
Thank you very much, Aaron, for that informative session. So yeah, I want to take this in a different approach and give you guys some good takeaways for Q4, and I kind of broke it down into three separate categories. The first one's preparation. The second one would be visibility, and then performance. Okay. So when we look at preparation, we're talking about obviously inventory preparation. As Aaron mentioned earlier in his session, it's really about the historical data. Okay, when we're looking at Q4, it's important to make smart decisions. So if you've sold before in Q4, use the historical data to project the increase in velocity. Okay, try not to guess, because there will come an increase in velocity, and we want to make sure that we have the analytics in front of us to make the smart decisions. Now, if this is your first time selling in Q4 and you don't have historical data available, use any kind of tools. There are tools out there in the internet to try and help you to use those for projection purposes. Okay, because likely in November, you will see an increase in sales, and we see increases of 2 times as well. But December comes around, and the increase could be up to 5x, if not even 10x. We've seen customers have this kind of increase in their sales. So the demand is going to start coming, and you want to be prepared in terms of your inventory, okay? And the idea here is to understand in advance and plan for the replenishment of those products. Now, we also look at the conundrum of overstocking versus understocking, and this is the question that everyone is always asking. I don't want an overstock, and I don't want to understock. Overstock is a problem, especially, you know, if you're an FBA seller, you're going to get hit with storage fees, and those fees will definitely go up. So you got to be careful over there. But understocking is also a problem because that's going to hurt your sales. This is your time to shine. This is your time to make money. So you want to try and find the sweet spot when it comes to trying to identify what kind of inventory levels you need to be at. Now, one other thing that I can mention is this is a time to really negotiate with your suppliers, okay? Just as a rule of thumb, the returns rates increase during the holidays between 2 and 3 times, okay? So it'll be vital if you can look at your report, return rate report from Seller Central from last year and look at the report based on their product assortment. So if you work with vendor A and you look at their product assortment that you bought from them and you see the reports, the returns have gone up based off last year, use that information as historical data to negotiate better prices with your suppliers, okay? That's important because you don't want to bite the bullet over there as well, okay? Another thing that you can add into some of your discussions with your suppliers is maybe a lead time clause, okay? You want to make sure that your products are shipped on time, okay? Because we all know it's very important to be early with your deliveries to Amazon because their receiving can be backed up during the holiday period, all right? So you want to make sure that you get your orders from your suppliers on time. You want to make sure that you get your inventory into Amazon on time. At least at the earliest, you want to have it in a week before Black Friday and Cyber Monday because those, of course, are the prime days. So make sure to have your inventory in on time. Now, a lot of people forget, you know, after Q4 comes Q1, all right? Now, you might run out of inventory, but a lot of your competitors will also run out of inventory. And there's an opportunity in Q1 to pick up on some of that lost sales from your competitors and aim them to you. So don't forget about Q1 altogether, as there is an opportunity over there. Now, if some of you, you know, get product from China, you got to remember that in mid-February there's the Chinese New Year, and factories can be shut down for up to 3 weeks. So if you get your product from China, remember, keep that in mind and try to get your orders in from your manufacturers, from your suppliers in China earlier than that. Now, the next category I want to look at is really what we call amplifying your visibility, okay? One of the things that we like to do and our sellers look to do is to really boost your bestseller ranking before the storm, okay? So, you know, maybe you could look at doing some kind of lightning deal with Amazon or a promotional giveaway, okay, via a partner, or one or both of these, okay, at least 1 week in advance of Cyber Monday. And the idea is to increase your bestseller ranking before the traffic really, really hits. And once you have a better ranking, you should see better results and more eyes on your pages. That will result in more conversions, more sales. Another thing that you should consider when it comes to your listing is really improving the copy so that it kind of relates to the holiday season. You know, you can maybe look to add a copy that says, for example, you know, makes a perfect gift, okay? And what this does, it will incentivize buyers who are looking to buy gifts, and it'll allow them to give your listing a second look, okay? So if you add a copy that says make a perfect gift, very, very good idea to do that. Maybe you can use HTML tags in the listing. This is, you know, to really catch the eye and attention of those shoppers. You might want to include perhaps in the images, in the product images, a gift wrapped image of that product, okay? Amazon offers gift wrapping services during the holidays. Again, somebody might not think that that product might be a perfect gift, but if you tell them it would be, then it might lead to an increase in conversions due to the small minor detail. Another option to consider is create maybe bundle products, right? So you can create a new ASIN of several of your products combined, okay? And that usually bundle products are perceived as a higher value, right? It's a way for you to connect some of your slower moving inventory with some of your faster moving inventory, okay? And create a new listing. Again, we've seen good conversions on bundled products. Again, it's just a way for you to move inventory out. Look to increase the prices on all products, okay? There's a massive increase in demand during the holiday season. Supply goes down during the holiday season, and of course, costs go up. So increased margins and increased profits. Okay? So the next slide is monitor performance. Monitor your inventory levels. Okay? So if you look overstocked, look to remove that inventory to avoid storage fees. It's very, very important to pay attention to your inventory levels, okay? Performance is going to be the key to Q4 and monitoring the performance, okay? Now, if you're understocked, look to maybe get a quick shipment from your supplier. Maybe look at alternative ways. You know, sometimes traditional shipping could take weeks. Maybe there's an option to do an air delivery, okay? I mean, do the math, see if the numbers work for you. You know, prices will go up. So if there are other options to get more product through the door, maybe your margins will be a little bit less, but always try to be in stock during this time. Another thing is track your returns and your refunds, okay? So you want to make sure that if you're getting returns, that you're also getting refunded back from Amazon, making sure the funds are coming back in and you're getting that money back into your account so you can go ahead and reinvest in new inventory. Another key thing is you really, really want to provide great customer support during this time period. I know it's hard, I know it's busy, but it's crucial. You don't want to take a hit on your metrics at this stage of the game, okay? So you want to prevent negative feedback and reviews. Try, it's an investment, but you want to try to give the best customer service and support possible. And the last one is monitor your sales, but more importantly, you really want to monitor your profits, okay? Your margins and your profits. It's great to make sales, but it's also better to make money, make profits. So sometimes that, you know, we see sellers focusing on sales, and, you know, a top 10 sales might not even be the top 10 margin and profit products. So again, you know, make sure the sales come in, but again, make sure that you're making money and you're profiting from those sales. That's it. Thank you.
So I
Awesome.
think
Yeah, go ahead. Oh, yeah, I was going to
ahead,
kick things off here, too. So appreciate it there, Aaron and Michael, too, for a fantastic presentation as well to kind of finish things off for the Amazon Summit. Really do appreciate that. I got a lot of questions that have come through as well. But I know that you guys want to kind of just discuss a little bit more about if people wanted to you know, follow up with you guys around kind of your platform. Could you explain just a little bit about Feedvisor's platforms for the audience a little bit more?
Absolutely. The Feedvisor platform is a repricing solution. So we are an algorithmic repricer, and obviously with algorithmic repricing comes a lot of data, because it's not an algorithm if it's not gaining data. So what we do is we focus on all products on Amazon. We also have the ability to reprice dependently on multi-channels, eBay, BigCommerce, and other channels on e-commerce. And really, it's a combination of repricing, data points, and with the success management team consultation. So it's really the trifecta, if you will, and we provide a lot of insight, data, and ultimately the best repricer around.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, so do you guys want to kind of follow up to, or want to have more information around it, or if you'd like to see a demo, you kind of just fill out this poll question here while we kind of jump into some Q&A for the remaining portion as well. But again, I do want to thank everyone. If you have to hop off now, I know we have about 500 people, 530 looks like people still attending. But if you do have to hop off now, totally understand that. We do appreciate it. Look like 60% of you have been, this is your third session. So we do appreciate you guys coming back for the third day. Look, we've hopefully provided a lot of value in these 3 days. But just want to let you guys know too before you do hop off. Another reminder here: the session recordings and the slides, all the good stuff will be sent to you tomorrow morning. So check that out. You guys can review that over the weekend, review it next week, whenever on your spare time you may have. So let's jump into the actual questions that we may have. So let's see. A question here from Nathan. Wants to know any suggestion on how to cut down on extra inventory. Do you keep surplus warehouse space somewhere? Wondering, like, what if you have extra?
Ultimately, if you have extra inventory, what you want to do is obviously you need to put a liquidation type strategy. You need to move that product, right? And again, like we said, if Amazon isn't the avenue, if we're not competitive, meaning our lowest price is higher than what wins the buy box, we need to keep our mind open for other avenues, other storefronts. It isn't end all and be all with Amazon, and sometimes we get this tunnel vision when we work here. Ultimately, we want to sell on Amazon, but if it's not there, we don't have to fight against the tide. We could look for other options to move those products. But I think if you use what we mentioned, the estimated days of coverage calculation, and you get in the nuance of checking this frequently, you should ideally never get into that state because you're always reassessing your current situation and adjusting on the point. So what I would suggest is find avenues to move the product, get it out, and once you get the new shipment in, start applying that templated strategy so you don't get to the point that you're sort of fighting with today.
Yeah, it's kind of like a tricky situation because it also depends on your lead time, of course, from your suppliers, and you want to make sure that you have enough inventory. So sometimes you just order more cautiously, but it's a fine line, right? You got to find the sweet spot, and it's about learning historical data again. Try to use as much data as possible, and don't make decisions on a whim where I had such X amount of sales on that product, so I'll just order X amount. There's a science to it. So look at past data and make smart decisions. The smarter decisions you make, the smarter the sellers are, and that's what distinguishes the best sellers from the others.
Awesome, thanks guys. Let's jump into another question. This one's specifically around pricing during the holidays. This one does tend to come up a lot. I know probably within kind of your client base too, and just a lot of people that are looking into your platform. I mean, should you be how should you approach pricing during the actual holidays itself? Should you be pricing lower to outcompete your competitors and essentially win over those consumers' attention, or are you looking to price higher so you can actually have attain more revenue during that actual Q4 season? Like, what are your thoughts, and what have you kind of seen, last Q4, and how should you kind of prepare for that?
Yeah, I stand firmly by what we presented. You will know the price point once you understand at what stage of the life cycle that ASIN is in, and once you understand where it's sitting, you'll be able to put it in that one of three groupings: liquidation, seasonal, ongoing. So if we know it's in the liquidation, we're going to apply a cheaper price. We're going to undercut the market because we're trying to move the product. If it's ongoing, no, we're going to raise our margins because we know eyes are coming in and profits will grow. Now, if we're in the seasonal, again, we will probably try to raise our ceiling, meaning leave a little bit of room to grow. But ultimately, the key thing is in the fourth quarter is we prepare our decisions going into it, but we reassess on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. And that reassessment, once you know what the strategy you were planning to do with the reassessment, you'll always be able to adjust very quickly. So understand where that item is sitting in, what stage of its life cycle is in. Then you'll know what price you need to do and what type of strategy, pricing-wise, you need to apply.
Awesome, great. Thanks. Let's jump into another question here. Eugene asked this one. He asked a couple times. I saw that, Eugene. Good tactic there, being able to show up on my radar. So All right, Eugene asked, "Hi, I have a very strong summer seasonal product that was selling around 90 to 100 per day. It looks like units there, products. This is the first holiday season that we will be going through with this SKU. Do you have any advice as how to approach making an inventory decision on this one?" He's saying it's a very giftable. It's very giftable, so during the holidays. But as mentioned, it is actually out of the season, so. Don't know exactly what the product is itself. Maybe something to do with the weather, obviously. But I don't know. Do you guys have any kind of thoughts on that?
I think what you need to, there's a few questions you need to ask yourself. I mean, is this a competitive product, or is this a private label on the listing? That alone will kind of corner you into making a decision. Also, on top of that, I think the key focus is if we're moving, you have to ask yourself, what's my lead time? How long is it going to take for me to get from my supplier to fulfillable in an FBA center? Now, if you have a short lead time, you could go with refilling with your current nuance, maybe upping it 10, 20%. But again, what's critical is the reassessment the week after and the week after that. That's the critical part. If we're overstocked and we're not achieving our desired sell-through rate, reassess our price point. Bring the point down, try to hit that number we're trying to hit, and vice versa. If it's overachieving, okay, great. We can raise the price point, try to bring up the margins, try to slow it down in order to buy us time to get more product in from our suppliers. So I think you really need to ask yourself, what's my current state? What's the competitive landscape? And then once you understood that, you make your decision and reassess. And a week later, monitor and reassess. And it's a constant monitoring and reassessment that will allow you to stay on top of things.
Awesome. Great answer. And looked like Eugene saying he's said thanks too. And yeah, he was saying that he's private label and competitive. So good to see that. Good answer there. All right, let's jump into another question here from Barbara. Wants to know, hi, is there any data about why stuff is returned, and talk with suppliers about this? So kind of just the first part, is there any data currently when actually items are returned from Amazon? Is that accessible anywhere within actually the Seller Central platform? What are your thoughts?
Well, I can't personally speak for the Seller Central platform on the data, but you are able to track returns, or at least claim the returns there. But what I do know with Feedvisor is we are able to see returns that are come in. So you can see, the date. Yeah, sorry.
Oh no, go ahead. Sorry.
You can see the date and the amounts returned, but the reasoning you would have to dive in and investigate through either the reviews or the contact with the client itself. And I can't emphasize the importance of, like Michael was saying, is the customer service. Sometimes it takes you reaching out to the client and say, what's wrong? Please tell me exactly the main issue, so you can come back and use those exact words to the supplier itself. And of course, percentages, the frequency of the return of a product will give you a lot of bargaining power with the supplier.
Yeah, I mean, while we're on the subject of reviews, I just wanted to make one more point. It's important to read the reviews. Okay, the reviews tell a story. It tells a story from your customer base, and sometimes your customers will leave you interesting reviews. So a quick tip that I picked up from a former Amazon employee would say, read the reviews and do a search in the reviews for wish or want. Okay, for those words. And sometimes you'll find a review that says, hey, I love this product, but I wish it came in blue. Okay, or I would want this product to be a little bit larger. So these kinds of insights and words that you can pick up from the reviews could actually help you with your product catalog. Maybe you only sell a product in red, but people are asking for it in blue. So look at the reviews, don't discount them, read them. This is your customer speaking to you, and you want to pay attention to that.
Great, thanks guys. All right, so let's jump into kind of one of these last questions here. This one's I've asked for every single presentation thus far. So I've asked Pat, I've asked Jeff as well. So kind of finish things off here. Let's get your feedback from kind of both your perspectives. Kind of the ultimate question here. If there's one thing to kind of take away from today's presentation, or just in general, as we head into Q4, I mean, heading into Q4 too, I've said that, probably 100 times during this summit. It's literally within a couple of days here. So if there's one last thing to kind of pay attention to from this presentation yourselves, or what you guys are paying attention to with your current client base and what's kind of top of mind for a lot of them, what essentially would that be to kind of focus on heading into Q4?
From my point of view, coming to the technical side, you've heard me say it several times in this webinar, understand your inventory. Spend the time, invest the time now to understand where every product is sitting. If you understand your inventory, you will inherently know what to do with it. It won't become difficult once you know what you're dealing with. The difficult part is knowing what you're dealing with. And if you use a lot of the strategies that we kind of preached on this webinar, you'll definitely be in the right direction. And the idea is once you gain the routine of doing this, it becomes a little bit easier and it becomes a little bit manageable. The hard part is getting ramped up to that manageable space. So understand your inventory. Spend the time now before the fourth quarter. It'll make your fourth quarter a lot more pleasant and more successful.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Aaron, no question about it. So, I mean, I think hands down we have the best repricer on the market. I mean, really, it's a great repricer. We seem to outperform the market considerably. But more importantly, things that I take away from my customers, it's really understanding the data. Okay, it's very, very important to understand the data. A lot of our customers come to us. They know how to source product, they know how to sell product, but they don't really dive into the data and understand their business, okay? So Feedvisor obviously has a platform that enables you to make smart decisions, okay? It's also a data platform, and it gives you the insights and information to understand your business better, not just looking at sales, but again, looking at profits, understanding which products we need to focus on, okay? Which ones we're wasting our time on, which ones we really need to focus on. So, again, it's just preparation. It's a science to it, I think you really just need to dive into it and have the tools available to you to make smart decisions, and that's how you're going to grow your business.
Well, there you have it, folks. That's going to do it for the summit. That is going to do it for Feedvisor's presentation today as well. Again, one last thank you to Aaron and Michael for a fantastic way to end off the summit too. A lot of good insights and takeaways today, and a lot of things to kind of think about, right? As you head back and start looking back at your current inventory levels and your current pricing strategies that you maybe may have had in place, but you may want to take a second look at them. So really do appreciate this, guys. I know it's really late there for you guys as well, so we definitely respect your time there as well. But one last reminder to the audience here before we sign things off. I know I still see the questions coming in through the actual questions box too. The session recording and the slides will be sent out. They will be sent out tomorrow morning from an email from myself, Nick Cotter, at CPC Strategy. So be on the lookout for that. If you don't receive it in the morning, it's going to be around, anywhere, around 10 a.m. probably East Coast time. So if you don't really receive it around then, or you don't see it tomorrow, check your spam box too, because some of the messages may be in the spam folder. So definitely check that out, and also take it out and put it in your inbox. That should be top of mind for you guys every day when you guys get that in your inbox. But again, thank you to the rest of the people that are still here. There's about 370 people as well. We do appreciate your time here, and thank you for joining us for another successful Amazon Virtual Summit. We will continue to do these, hopefully starting next year too, as we kick things off. But continue to follow Feedvisor's content, continue to follow CPC Strategies and Seller Labs content. We're here to provide value, whether you are a customer or not. We are still going to be here. We are still going to be here to provide you value. We're still going to be here to provide you any kind of feedback. That's what we're here for. So whether you're a client or you're not, you're just here to follow our content. That's what we're giving it away for. So we really do appreciate it. But other than that, that's going to do it for another successful Q4 Amazon Virtual Summit. Signing off from the greater Boston area, this is CPC Strategy at Feedvisor.